evening, Year 11. It's G-Economics here, and this is a little feedback video for you for the most recent A591 paper which you've done for me. So this is the third one that we have done since the beginning of term. So this is the May 2013 paper, and we're of course looking at question 1 on this particular paper. I'm happy to say that there has been a general improvement in these papers, so this is good, much better, for some of you in particular, much better than we've seen previously. So I have just finished marking it according to said mark scheme, and these are the areas of contention on this particular paper. So nothing too major here, actually quite well done this paper. Maybe this was a little bit easier than others, or maybe you just find this particular area of theory easier. So let's get to it then. Very easy questions, A and B, so I'm really not going to say anything about those. C and D to focus on. So for part C, you were given a diagram. The diagram has already been drawn for you in the paper, and you're simply asked to add a little section to it and label it up as appropriate. Now, it's the labels, ladies and gentlemen, that have caused some of you to lose a couple of marks on this. So it is a very simple question, and it's the labeling which has cost you. So you're presented with this, like so, and then you're asked to label up this diagram. So this is a labour markets diagram, so we don't have price and quantity on the y and x axis. We have the wage rate in pounds, obviously, and the quantity of labour, or quantity is enough, quantity of labour on the x axis. You're then told that there's an increase in the supply of labour, and your job is simply to move one of the curves in the correct direction and then to label up the diagram in full. So we would move the supply curve to the right to indicate an increase in the supply of labour, and then we label it up. So we put our equilibrium points on it. Nice to see some of you putting A and B like so. W1, Q1, W2, Q2, and then, as I've always said to you and always stressed, do try and indicate the direction of travel. So direction of travel downwards here and outwards here. Some of you label this correctly, but then put the direction of travel, a little arrow from B to A, moving from B to A. Obviously that is incorrect. We have an expansion of demand, an expansion along the demand curve, moving from A to B. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Just be careful with your labelling on that diagram. And then into question D. So question D asks you to explain why, generally speaking, skilled workers earn more than the unskilled workers. So a few basic points first of all. Do make sure that when you come to draw the diagram, it is the labour market that you're talking about, not the product market. Some of you have focused too much on the product market, talking about labour becoming more efficient, therefore that leads to lower cost of production, therefore supply increases, and you've drawn a very accurate and very nice diagram about economies. You're effectively talking about economies of scale, lowering prices and increasing output. But you're not, that's an NAQ, you're not actually answering the question. What was really required in this one was a labour market diagram, and I'm delighted to say that the vast majority of you did draw a labour market diagram. So here's the wage rate and quantity, and you've got a demand curve. Now, the key thing here, and one or two of you did point this out although you didn't actually draw it, the key thing here is that the supply of the unskilled worker, not only is it a greater supply, but, and this is the key thing, this is the crucial thing, sorting the men from the boys here in terms of the top answers from the middle of the road answers, is to do with the elasticity of supply. and the elasticity of supply of the unskilled worker is relatively flat or elastic, as we call it, so that would be SU, unskilled, whereas the elasticity of supply of the skilled worker, SS, is much more inelastic. And that's an indication, of course, of the time it takes to train, the skills and qualities associated with that particular job relative to the unskilled job. Now that would be a great start, but can I suggest this as an even greater finish point? So let's put the wage rate here for the unskilled worker, W prime, and WS prime for the skilled worker. It would be really tip-top if you went on to just show how much the wage would increase for both workers, both skill sets, if there was a given increase in demand. So let's say demand increases, so we shift it parallel, so demand goes to D2. Now we can indicate the new wage for the unskilled worker, WU double prime, and the new wage for the skilled worker, WS double prime. And the key thing that you'd now want to get across to the examiner would be, look, Mr. Examiner, or Miss Examiner, look how much the wage has gone up for the unskilled worker. Just this little amount here. But look, Mr. Examiner, how much it's gone up for the skilled worker. And this is all, of course, due to the gradient of the line, which is to do with the elasticity. So that would be a tremendous explanation and elaboration on that point. I'm just looking to see here if there's anything else that was real. Yes, just one other thing. When you come to do your conclusion, remember we want to try and base our conclusions on fact. So we're talking positive economics here, rather than, in my view, in my opinion, skilled workers should earn more than unskilled workers, full stop. No, no, no. It's got to be based on fact, not a normative statement. We want a positive statement reinforced by, where possible, your own knowledge and evidence. Okay, ladies and gents, that's it. Bye for now. See you next week.